Hey everyone, welcome back. Adam from ironSource. So far in this course about making successful hyper-casual games, we've covered the concept phase, marketability testing, and soft launching. Now we've arrived to crunch time, globally launching your hyper-casual game. For many hyper-casual game developers, partnering with a publisher like Supersonic is the best way to get this right and get your game to the top of the charts. Other developers, perhaps slightly more experienced ones, or those with a small team around them, try their luck at going the solo route, launching their game on their own. Whichever route you go, this session will help you understand what's needed to successfully launch your game globally. Getting your game to the top doesn't just come down to a great concept or great design. You've also got to launch it effectively. But a mistake we see from hyper-casual devs way too often is using the same launch strategy on in-app UA networks and social platforms. These should be treated differently. In this video, we're focusing on UA on ad networks and the different strategies you can use when globally launching your hyper-casual game. The strategies can be separated as conservative, aggressive, or standard. Deciding which is the right approach for you depends on the budget and how much risk you're willing to take. Let's take a look at each of the strategies. A conservative launch strategy is defined by a small cap or budget and high bids, in which you adjust both over time based on LTV and how quickly you're scaling. A conservative approach does minimize the risk of overspending or losing money, but you do need to watch the campaign pretty closely and optimize pretty often to avoid going over the cap. The manual work this needs means there's more room for errors, and the low budget means it'll usually take longer to scale. If you can't afford to start with a higher budget or want to stay in the soft launch stage longer, maybe a conservative launch strategy would work better to help you minimize spend. But it does come at a sacrifice to how quickly you can learn from campaigns to optimize and scale. To launch your game with a more aggressive strategy, start with both a high cap and high bids, and then adjust so you can become profitable after you reach the top of the charts. The benefit of an aggressive approach is that your game gets strong organic uplift from reaching a higher rank in the charts, which can help your marketing and brand awareness for future titles. For studios or developers with plenty of resources that can afford to lose money initially, an aggressive approach could help you get your game to the top way faster. The disadvantage, though, is that this is a risky strategy, and it's likely not going to be profitable at first, and it kind of runs the risk of not being profitable at all. A standard launch strategy is the one that we suggest for most hyper-casual games. It's not too risky or too cautious. Starting with high caps and target bids that you set based on your learnings from testing and soft launch, you can then adjust your campaigns if you're not seeing enough traffic. Make sure to bid more granularly as you start learning from the campaign's performance 1 to 3 days after launch. And also, talk to your ad networks for recommendations based on quality and performance so you can find this target bid quickly and easily. To maximize IPM with this strategy, first, consider where to launch. Your best bet is Tier 1 countries like the US and other geos that yielded the highest IPM from soft launch. If you don't have enough data or learnings from previous titles or your game's soft launch, just starting with the US is enough. The timing of your launch matters too, with Fridays and US rush hour times being usually between 6 and 10 p.m. UTC, usually performing the best. It often takes a week or less to gather enough data from the campaign to see if it'll continue scaling, or if you need to make adjustments. If you do need to tweak your game, check your creatives and your in-game metrics. KPIs like playtime and retention can indicate if you're monetizing users effectively, so you can afford a higher bid. This type of launch strategy is best for most hyper-casual games. It's the sweet spot where you can learn fast, improve performance efficiently, and as a result, increase your profits. For the second half of this session, I want us to focus on designing playables to help you get the most scale out of your UA campaigns at global launch. Playable ads are usually used during global launch to drive downloads at scale and give important insights into your creative strategy with in-ad metrics like engagement rate and conversion rate. More on that soon. In the next few minutes, I'll take you through some of the design best practices that we've seen to work wonders for your playable ads at a global launch. The tutorial is the first part of your playable that users interact with, and it needs to strike the balance between informing users how to play and showing them how to play. Hyper-casual games usually have a single mechanic. It's very important that users understand the mechanic in your playable, and what will happen once they start interacting. At Supersonic, we often A/B test tutorials to find this balance between telling and showing, and to determine what's engaging users most so they keep playing. For example, one of the most common tests that we run is removing visual noise in the creative, like obstacles and background elements. This keeps the attention entirely on the gameplay and the mechanic in the creative. The goal is for users to know how to play in under 3 seconds. We tested this in a playable for Mad Dogs by simplifying the background and changing the environment to be more bare. Then we changed the text so it's related directly to the mechanic and made it more clear what happens when users tap the screen. We also changed the camera angle to a full side view, which improved visibility and clarified gameplay even further. As a result, the new version improved performance across KPIs, achieving an engagement rate of 87%, conversion rate over 27%, and IPM over 64%, and click-through rate over 36%. There's another balance to strike when it comes to your playables, and it has to do with the gameplay. Keeping users engaged versus leaving them wanting more so they're tempted to download and play. We suggest keeping your playables gameplay at 15 seconds or less. This is usually enough time to give a user a sense of the gameplay experience while also leaving them wanting more. If your playable highlights actual gameplay from your game, try testing different elements to show. For example, you could test different levels with different difficulties and see which performs best in a playable. The playable gameplay that's likely to resonate with users varies for each game. For example, playables for decision-making games often highlight the visual and storyline more than any other genre. For Stacky Dash, we tested 2 versions of a playable featuring similar gameplay but with distinctly different visual experiences. One version featured a track with coins in a circular formation. The other version had hearts instead of coins, and the track was in the shape of a heart. The heart is a very familiar shape to users, and they immediately understood and related more on the game. In the end, the version with the heart tiles achieved better results, bringing CTR up to nearly 63%, CVR over 7%, and IPM over 45%. Here's the last piece of the puzzle: getting users to go to the App Store and download your hyper-casual game. The balancing act here is avoiding irritating or even startling users in how you send them to the store. The key is to get them there as quickly and with as little friction as possible. So test different ways to send users to the store from your playable. Some variations we test include using a simple end card where they can tap and go to the store, or offering them an incentive like getting an extra life when they install and start playing. Hopefully by now you understand what it takes to successfully create and launch your hyper-casual game. We've gone over conceptualization, marketability testing, soft launch, and now global launch. It's time you take these tools and apply them in the real world. Good luck and stay tuned for future courses.